Hello and welcome, everybody. Glad to see everybody here. Oh my goodness, this should be a lot of fun. Can't wait. It's always fun whenever we have Randall Leverette on. Randall, how are you? Say hello to the world.
Hey, how are you guys and ladies?
That's right. That's right. Yeah, listen, I can't wait. It's going to be exciting. It's about a subject I always love whenever you come on because we always talk about assistant, and I just absolutely love the assistant. I love what it does and some of the things you can do too. I see Richard's out there. Richard, hello, Richard. How are you? I like Jello, sir, instead of hello, sir. Adds a little flavor there. That's kind of nice. But so yeah, let's first of all tell anybody that hasn't been on or anything like that. Tell them a little bit about yourself, what you do, where you're from, and all that kind of stuff. And where you just got back from too. That was pretty cool too. So go ahead.
Well, sure. I'm in New York, and I am a product expert for Project Fi, Google Home and Assistant, and Google Play. And I recently, well, it was as recent as May, I was in Paris and London for the summer. So I'd much rather be in Paris and eating some wonderful food and drinking great wine, but I'm here with you. So that's just as good.
There you go. Awesome. Now, Richard says no sound. Really? It should be. I mean, I hear you. You hear me. I don't know why we wouldn't have sound. Richard, you might want to check your sound. Oh, it's all good. Okay. So Warren Wilson says he can hear us, right? You can hear us? Anyway, go ahead. Now, keep going. You're good.
So, so we're going to be talking about assistant. I think every time we're on together and we're talking about assistant and Google Home and all the attendant things associated with it, makes us sound like two lazy people, right?
That's so true.
Because they're always talking about this automated thing that's going to turn the lights on and cook. The only thing it doesn't do is cook dinner for us. But
true.
hopefully.
And soon, right? It's soon. That may be
and soon. That's correct. I can see the articles now in Gizmodo or something. Google Home will be cooking meals in the not too distant future. Cannot spread those rumors.
Yeah, I know.
Doesn't do is cook dinner for us, but
True. Yep. All right, let's see. I want to make sure. Oh yeah, Andrew says Randall is one of my favorites, even if I don't have a Google Home. There you go.
That was a dig. That was a dig. You oh man, you don't have a Google Home. What do we have to do to get you to get a Google Home?
Yeah, exactly. That's
or at least a mini. And how can you not have a Max? Those things are on sale. They're ginormous, but they've been on sale for the longest time. It is like probably one of the best deals going. What is it? What are they? $250 now?
No, it's crazy.
$240, $239.
I can't believe
$400.
Yeah, I remember you were trying to get me that coupon to get it down to $249 or whatever.
Right. And that was what, right after the holiday?
Yeah, it was like right after. I think, yeah.
Yeah. So okay, Richard, you have no excuse. We should ban you from this conversation because you do not have a home. How shameful! How shameful! Oh man.
So Warren out there says lots of questions. We have an 8-inch Lenovo Hub, Nest Hello, Doorbell 2, Google Home Mini, 2 Minis, 2 Google Homes, Honeywell thermostats, Google Wi-Fi mesh network router. My goodness, he's got just about everything.
Wow, you're all Google Homed up. Well, actually, it's
Nest or whatever.
Nest. What is it? Is it Google Nest Home or Home Net? I forget. I don't even know what it is now. But yeah, now I don't have the Lenovo. That I don't have. And the only Nest products that I have are the thermostat.
You do have the thermostat.
I do have the thermostat, and I love those. But everything else along, that's smart home related. I have Hue lamps that I use, but I did find some really cool things that were offered by, they're on Amazon. They're called Magic Bulb or Magic Light or whatever, and they work really, really well with the Google Home and even that other item. And they're really pretty inexpensive.
1 second. Professor Nez gave a $9.99 super chat. Thank you so much. I really do appreciate it. I appreciate your support. That is freaking awesome. Thank you, Professor Nez. That was nice of him. But anyway, anytime somebody donates a little money, I have to make a break in it and just let everybody know. That's pretty awesome. Thank you very much, Professor Nez.
That's pretty cool.
Hey,
send me some money. Hey, so that I could buy some more light bulbs to test for you guys. No, just kidding. Keep sending him money. He does some good stuff here. I've been on here a number of different times, and every time I've had fun. And we're going to try and have some fun again today. So, where were we?
Hey, Mark Maris, you were talking about on Amazon having those other bulbs and
yeah, I got some. It was a set of 2 for like $15, and they're called magic bulbs, and they're 2 different types. They're one that are set up by Bluetooth and another set that are Wi-Fi. I got the Wi-Fi ones, and they work really, really well. They don't have all the bells and whistles that you'll find in the Hue app, but the magic light or it's magic something. Their app isn't as granular as the Hue app, but the bulbs have multiple colors like the Hue app. It works well with both Google product and that other thing that sounds like a river. And they were really pretty inexpensive, and they're pretty cool. So if you for those who don't have the budget or want to spend the money on the Hue bulbs or some of the more expensive versions, there are some good low cost versions that work just as well. Yeah, and I believe it's called Magic Bulb. I think they're called Magic Bulb or Magic Light or something.
Well, and I know Wise bulbs, WYZE, I think it is. They just came out with some bulbs as well. They do the little cameras and stuff just like Nest. And Modern Day Tech, who's been on our show, he actually did his latest video had that too. So people are definitely bringing them out. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, it's good. I mean, the more that appear, the cheaper they become. It's kind of like you first get the 4K TV and it's $10,000, and then everybody figures out a better way to make the mousetrap, and then you can, walk in somewhere and get a pretty decent 4K TV for $700.
Yeah, exactly.
Go figure. And then you feel stupid being one of the early adopters, which is always my problem. So
I know. I do the same thing though. I do the exact same thing. So
yeah. Yep.
So anyway, so when you're using, that's one thing. I'm glad you brought this up because there's a lot of different things. And I know in the Google Home app, which is kind of what we're talking about today, there are tons. And you mentioned Philips. There are tons of different things that you can use and different people. That's an important thing to set up with their connection first, because you have to set up with their apps. It's almost like a communication thing for those two. Am I saying right? Am I saying that?
Yeah, but basically what you're doing and what you're referencing is you'll get your Hue bulbs, for example, and then you will create your account on using the Hue app. And then what you do is you go into Google Home and you're going to link your Google Home account with your Hue app and give it permissions. Now, a trick here, when you do those things, make sure that you're using the default browser for whatever handheld device you're using, because if you replace it with, like if you're on an iPhone and you're using Chrome, for example, it's going to expect probably Safari on your iPhone device in order to do the authentication. And if your default browser is not set up to make that connection and link, it's going to fail and it's going to drive you crazy. So if you're going to link your accounts, just make sure that you've got it set up so that your default browser on your handheld is in fact set up to fire up when you make that connection to do the link.
Gotcha. So like I just came on my home app right here. You can kind of see on screen. I'm on my mobile phone. You can see I'm on the home app. then we have all these little buttons down at the bottom, the 4 buttons down the button. This one is, I believe, Discover. I believe it's called.
One is Discover or Explore. They've changed the name from time to time. The one on the far right, I think you're in Explore right now. I think it's usually noted at the very top. What do they call it at the very top? Is it?
This one's Discover.
Discover. Okay, so it's moved from Explore to Discover. 6 of one, half a dozen of the other. Surprise! It's Google.
And then the next one is Browse, and then the last one is Account. This is where you do a lot of stuff, isn't it?
Correct. You do a lot of your stuff in your account, but you go to your settings. But the other interesting thing is that there are certain times that you can go directly to your device and manipulate settings. For example, you can, there's an equalizer setting for some things on some of the devices and things of that nature. So you can go into the actual device itself.
Oh, that's pretty awesome. Yeah, that's great.
I mean, I don't know if you've ever tinkered around in there, but if you go to one of your speakers and do settings, if you back out, go to home, try going to home and pick one of your speakers.
Let's see.
One of your living rooms. Yeah. Okay. Try that one. Now, if you go up into one of the buttons, try the up at the top. Yeah, I don't know. See, so you've got.
Yeah.
See, so you've got. So you didn't even know that you could change the bass and treble. I just taught you something.
There you go. That's fantastic.
Okay, and then on some of them, if you back out of there, the other one you can manipulate things like having it not talk to you after 10 o'clock at night, or lowering the volume after a certain hour between 10 p.m. and 6 a.m. or whenever you pop out of bed down there. So
it's got all kind. I mean, like right here, just in the settings area, it has 4 different menus. Continue conversation, got routines. Oh my gosh, look at that. And then services, shopping list, music, all this kind of stuff.
Now, have you ever used routines? Have you set up a routine? Okay. Yeah, because I use routines an awful lot. I mean, it's actually how I start my day every day. I get up and I say, okay,
yeah, and
it just goes through, and I have a whole bunch of different things, like the New York Times, the Daily, and my local news, and the weather, and the nightly business report. And it runs through all of those things all morning while I'm getting myself ready to get out of the house.
I'm telling you.
And it's really pretty cool.
Some of the routines, like when I come downstairs and I jump on my elliptical, I can just say, start my walk. And then the TV comes on to Netflix, whatever I was watching last comes on, boom, and I just start my walk. I mean, there's just so much stuff you can do. It's incredible stuff like that. Or I like the fact when you say goodbye, I can turn on the small lamp so the dogs have a little bit of light in the living room and every other light goes out. I mean, just things like that you can do just by saying those keywords.
It's great. I'm a huge golfer.
Okay.
And you go out and your spouse is like the golf widow, and I go and do my golfing, and when I'm on the 9th hole, I'll say, "Hey, I'm on my way home." And that's the cue to fire up the grill or do this home automation thing is really useful. At some point, I guess I'll remember not how to turn a light on with a switch, because I sort of get annoyed when I have to, when something goes haywire and you've got to start flipping the switches. Oh man, I got to get up and I got to go over there and I got to, it's breeding another kind of couch potato.
And Andrew says, I may not feel stupid, but I will definitely feel poorer.
Yeah.
Mark says streaming live on Twitter too. Awesome. Oh, well, thank you. Yeah, I'm trying to do diversify and stream on a bunch of places all at once. And Mark says that's cool. Like the wind down feature on my Android, I think is what he was trying to spell.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I guess so. I guess that's kind of what it's like is you can, that's the cool thing is that you can set up so many routines and certain things. I actually had, when we went out of town for the weekend, I had the light set up on a routine that when I said something on a routine or hit a routine, it would just sit there and just switch some lights on and off periodically.
Right.
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 It was awesome.
No, it's really good. I mean, in addition to the Hue lights that I have on the inside, I actually bought the Hue motion sensor, and they've just come out with outdoor lights. So talk about being broke. I mean, I think it's like, but it's the hill I'm going to die on, if it uses circuitry, electrical power, has a plug, I'm on it. And, that's the hill I'm going to die. So they came out with some outdoor lights, and I put up some outdoor lights because the ones that I had were like so old. I think they've been here since I've owned the house, and they were, they had the motion sensor automatically attached to it. But this one, you put up the lights, and then you can buy another motion sensor that has far more granular controls for the light, so you can set the distance at when it actually activates. It has the outdoor temperature on it so that you can see it from your phone. So it's really pretty. It's a really pretty cool thing.
Yeah, but now for you to go to make those adjustments, you got to get back up on the ladder, go up and hit
exactly. And and it's the little knob on the thing to turn it so that okay, now I want to. It's daylight. Say I want it to come on in 2 minutes, or I want it to right. Now it's just all on the. It's all on the phone and through the app, and it's phenomenal. You can set the distance that you want it to activate. You can set it so that trees and things don't make it go off. It was worth it. And the house may be lit up like a Christmas tree after I finish buying more of the bulbs that they've made, because they've got outdoor lights for everything now. So who only knows what's next?
Yeah, that's true. That's awesome. So really that is like your Google Home though. I mean, and you mentioned Philips, and I just want you to touch on this a little bit. Philips has their own app to adjust the bulbs and stuff, but Google Home is kind of like your centralized everything where you can tie everything in. Is that right? I mean, you go
correct. I mean, you can, there are some things that you can do on with Google Home for your lights, but the more you can tell it to change the colors and this, that, and the other. But for more granular controls and things, it's best to do that within
the app itself,
the Philips Hue app. Yeah. And then you set it the way that you want it, and then it'll always be. I mean, I don't really use the color functions. I mean, I'm not running a disco here. I don't need multiple. But some people get into that. If you throw a lot of parties and they've got like a tropical theme light, whatever, and they got this and they got that and they got sunset and moon glow and daylight and blah blah blah. They've got everything.
I've seen people do, like when it's movie night, they'll put the purple light on, so it's all kind of ambient, a little bit different, not as much light, but a little bit of light, that kind of thing, and all that kind of stuff. I've seen people do that kind of thing.
Yeah, well, my Barca Lounger is not as good as the one that they have at the AMC, so I'm not going to go for that. I've got Fraser Crane's father's Barca Loungers.
I love it. That's good stuff. I think that, I tell you, I think that there's a lot of times when, you're using all these different products and stuff and you don't realize, like I just bought, I used to have Wemo light switches, WEMO, but I switched because they had when Google Home came out with their latest version and their latest firmware, I know I'm talking technical, the Wemo did not change as quick. So it wouldn't ever update and work properly. So what I did is I went and got TP-Link, I think it is, TP-Link. I went and got some switches from there and had absolutely great luck with them. And I've just put them, I mean, my downstairs lights, I was putting them all over. I was like, It does get pricey though. It does, doesn't it?
Yeah,
I mean,
the cost can run up, and if you keep lookout for sales, you can get some cheaply every now and again. I mean, I only have one outlet, and it's a TP Link, and I believe the app that they use is, I think it's Casa or Casa, or
yeah,
is that
yeah.
And the interesting thing about it is, of all the things that I've got, that might be the only one that is 2.4 gigahertz with connection to Wi-Fi. All of my others seem to work with the 5G, but that's the only one. That's the only one, if I remember, is 2G. And I was like, ooh, is this going to work? And it manages to work with my Google Wi-Fi. So that's cool. But that one's, believe it or not, that's set up to the TV and my Xbox. Remember, I'm the guy with the, if it's a plug and circuitry, I got it. And if, it's usually only toggled if I go away for an extended period of time. The cable box and all of that stuff is there. And so when I, if I go away for a week or two, that, I can just say, turn it off and everything is shut down. Yeah, so that's pretty cool. But I don't have any, that's the only plug that I have. The rest is all lights and, almost a Google Home in every room.
We do at Christmas time. We have 3 plugs. I bought 3 plugs just to turn off like the Christmas tree, the front lights, and different things. And that's how that works. We have it do it for those plugs, but we're like you. I mean, I really don't use them otherwise. Like some people use it for their coffee maker. So the plug turns on, turns off, all that. But my coffee maker does that already. So
yeah. Mine too, except I got to keep the time, and power goes out here in the country frequently. People, the power went out here, and the power company called and said I was a squirrel. Poor squirrel is no longer with us, but I got my power back. But I think my coffee pot is still flashing midnight from the last time the power. I just get to the point where I don't even bother to do it. So maybe that's where I need a plug.
Well, maybe. It might work out for you if you just leave it on all the time and then just hit the plug. That's the nice thing too that I like about having the plug though, is because remotely I can turn that off. Did I ever turn that off? Boom, I can make sure I did that way. Yeah. So kind of a cool security thing that way. I like Christina says, I just got the Wise Light. It's really cool. That's cool. Tell us a little bit more about it, how you like it and how it's working for you and how you're using it. Are you using it with Alexa or are you using it with Google Home? What are you using it with? I'm just curious, real curious to see. I'm always wondering how people use those and do those. So, and
any other questions that come up too here, just throw them out. See if we can answer them.
Yeah, you guys fire them out there if you got some questions about your devices and things like that. I know that you and before in the green room when we were talking beforehand, they changed the app so much. Even the look of it. There's a lot of times that I feel like
surprise.
It's a good idea to go in there. You know what I'm saying? It's a good idea to go in there like twice a month or something.
Yeah.
Just to go in and look around and review and see if they have anything new or if they've moved something to a different spot. That's one thing, I love to hit buttons. We're usually when you're a geek, and a lot of people out there are geeks, they like to touch buttons and they hit stuff and all that kind of stuff. So I think a lot of times it's important to go back, especially to apps, especially because they update apps all the time, not just Google, but everybody does. Yeah. There's a lot of programs that update apps.
And especially if you're one of the people who is on what they call the preview, you can sign up for the preview within the app. And so they're, they do a little bit of tinkering, and every once in a while you'll get an update that other people don't have who are not signed up for the preview. It's not a beta. So to be clear, there's a distinction between a beta and a preview. Nice. Excuse me. And so that preview sometimes has some features that you may get a look at for a quick 10 minutes, and sometimes it's gone just as quickly. And sometimes you don't even know it's there. They may improve the speech recognition algorithm or something. So if you're okay with those kinds of things, it may make sense to jump on the preview. And it's one of those toggles that is in the Google Home app, and you can set up your individual devices to receive those previews.
Yeah, awesome, perfect.
But it's not a beta,
right? It's not a beta.
It's not a beta. It is a preview of features or enhancements before perhaps they go broader.
Gotcha. So like right here on my home, one thing that I noticed that they started doing, this is actually, it's been a while that they've done this now, but it says like invite home member, if you can see that there, and then connect a Wemo, because it knew I was on Wemo before, but it still has those options. And it's kind of cool to see that they're offering this stuff up. Like when my son, he's getting out of the Army in September, October. And so I'll be able to invite home member. That will be where I can start that process from right there. That's kind of cool that it has some of that kind of stuff right there on the home screen.
Right. And what that does is it allows other people who live in your house to share the capabilities without having to go through and set up all the stuff on their own.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like you're like a built-in family member all automatically, so that you don't have to worry about doing it.
Wi-Fi and all that stuff, everything. They can just take over those same settings or get those same settings, I guess is what you would say.
Right. Now the voice match may be the only thing that I don't, and I don't use that. So you may be able to educate me on that once that happens. I mean, will he have to set up voice match for himself there? Because I would think, I mean, certain features anybody can just use it, but if he wants to be particular, if he has a particular genre of music that he likes that's different than yours, he'll want to be able to use his voice and have the device recognize his voice so that they know that to play his music or watch his stuff on Netflix or whatever. That's
a great point. And his calendar and his phone to go find his phone, that kind of thing. That.
Right.
Oh, that's a great point. Great point.
So that's the important thing about the voice match. It allows the device to be personal to you. It's secure in a way that, I can't walk up to your thing and say, let me see Michael's calendar. It won't show it because it's like, that's not Michael's voice.
Right.
I can't access your contacts because I'm not using, it's not the voice. So it's a way to show the calendar, the music, for it to recognize your shows and things for those things that are recognizable in that way. So it's always good to set up voice match.
Somebody who's starting point blank, brand new, just watching this for the first time, what would you say? And they've got the money to invest in, a little bit. Is there anything that you would recommend? Let's say they want to do some lights, they want to do whatever and that kind of stuff. Just by being a user for a long time, what would you say would be a great start to get going in that kind of thing?
Well, if you want to gradually move into it, I would first suggest getting, I would probably start with a mini. It's unobtrusive. You can put it in a place where you frequent, like your den or something, and become accustomed to barking orders and having something talk to you for stuff that you are interested in getting. And as you become more familiar with it, and you might get a light bulb or two. I mean, I don't think you'd have to go whole hog when you first start out, but the first thing that I ever had before Google had its stuff was, I was on the beta for Alexa, and it was like really weird having this thing, and I had to adjust my speech pattern because if I said something that sounded like it would start talking to me and I would be annoyed. So there's there's a little bit of practice that needs to go on there so that you don't trigger it when you don't want it to be triggered. But I say if you start small, you get a mini. It's inexpensive. It's unobtrusive. It does the exact same thing. It has pretty good sound quality. And then you put it in a place that you use frequently, your kitchen or your den, and become accustomed to having this thing in your space, and get a light, and then you can play and practice. And then as you get more proficient with things that it can do, then you can add on to your stable of smart home items so that you're not overwhelmed. And I think that's what happens with a lot of people. They go out, oh, I'm going to get this, I'm going to get this, and then they get overwhelmed, and then none of it works together. Or they get confused about putting, it's like, oh, I just did that. Well, why am I, and it's like, well, no, this needs to, so if you start gradually and you work your way into it, it makes a lot more sense to you. And when you start adding things, if you kind of sort of don't mix and match to start out, if you pick a brand, kind of sort of stick with that, because that's what you know, and you become really familiar and accustomed to it. And it makes the process that much easier for you. So that would be my recommendation. The second recommendation I would do is, you can see that there are a lot of things that are perhaps available for waiting lists on Google's site right now. So I would say wait if you don't have any stuff, and see what may be be down the pike.
It's very possible.
A, you may want the new stuff, or B, the old stuff may be even cheaper. So you'll be able to go buy it by the truckload, and that way you can put as many as you want in, because you can get them at a fairly decent price. So, I love, for example, I have the Google Nest Hub in the kitchen. It's the substitute cooking channel TV while I'm making recipes or burning food. That's when I usually know my food is ready. The fire department shows up or the smoke alarm goes off. So, so that's there. I can listen to the news. I can watch, if I'm watching a movie in the den and then want to come in and start making dinner, I can then just cast it to it. I mean, it's very, very convenient. The older version of this, the hub, does not have a camera, so that you can't do duo. But again, that's one of those things that is on. I'm on the wait list for now on the Google Shop. I'm so excited about it, and I'm glad that they're gonna do it, because it was like, man, I would love to be able to duo this. So I waited and waited, because I'm telling you, I was inches away from doing the Amazon thing, because I was like,
I know,
my parents are elderly, and it's like, I'd like to be able to like check in on them. Some people call it spying, but I say check in on.
Same thing, waiting on the Nest Hub Max, and because of the camera. That's the only reason why I didn't get the hub in the first place, because it didn't have a camera. That's the only reason I didn't buy it, because I wanted to be able to put it in the living room or wherever I want to put it, like you said, the kitchen, something like that, where I can do a duo call with my grandchildren and whatever. I want to be able to do that kind of stuff. And without having the camera and all that kind of stuff, you just can't do. That's what, to me, makes it personable, and I really enjoy that and like that. But I like what you said about that. That's a good point, just to get a mini, because my first purchase was a home. Didn't really need to be, but it could have been the mini. But I got a Google.
But the home did come out first, though. Yeah, that was the mini. The mini was the second of the children of the. It was the little. Yeah.
Valid point. What I found, though, is having two was really, that's when I really started to enjoy the features and stuff like that, because of the broadcast feature. Also, having the one in the bedroom gives me, like, I can play music at night, or noise, or white noise, whatever. I can do any of that kind of stuff. I can ask a question before I go to bed. If I can't fall asleep, I can ask a couple questions or whatever I want. I mean, it's just so awesome. Hey, what do I have on the calendar tomorrow? Just something like that. I can just do that. from that little mini is fantastic.
Let me tell you, you don't know. My alarm goes off, and before my rear end is off the bed and I'm sitting upright, the first thing I ask before I put my slippers on is, what's the weather?
Mm-hmm.
And what's on my calendar for today? And that determines, what I'm going to be doing and then I come down, I do the coffee because I work from home and and so I get downstairs and then it's like, boom, I need, to listen to my podcasts. So I'm listening to those while I'm working.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm telling you, it saves a lot of time. And, when you work at home, it helps me keep the television off, because instead of turning the TV on, I'm actually, it's kind of like being in a car without being in a car where you're listening to the radio. So, I mean, I get to listen to
great point,
the television without having to watch it, and I can just listen to it and I get the same benefit and value from it. I don't need to see it. It's great to be able to listen to it and not be distracted by having to look up. I mean,
so Sirius Xm Radio now allows you to play it through your Google Home device. So I do that a lot of times. I mean, so exactly what you're saying.
That I haven't figured out how to do yet. I saw that. I got a notice because I have that in my car.
Yeah.
Sirius, but I haven't quite figured out how to do it. And partially because it's like there's so many radio things that you can do on the home. I mean, there's TuneIn, there's what is it, iHeartRadio. I mean,
any call letter station now does it too.
It's just it's like, I can say, hey, play me some Beethoven, and it's like, boom, it's like there, and it's like they found a station that's all Beethoven. It's incredible. It's kind of scary, but it's great.
But I found with that second device, and then even the third device, because when we went out to the summit that one year, or I think it might have been a meetup, they gave us a Google Mini one time. So then I had one for downstairs, and I have found that to be very practical, because a lot of times if dinner's ready or something like that, or the wife says, hey, did you take the dog out? I got it right here. And I can broadcast back. That is so convenient. It's like an intercom system. So it's just a lot of features that you just kind of overlook or you don't think about. So and the reason I bring all this up is because Modern Day Techie says, I have a Google Home Mini just for testing though. I'm telling you, once you have the two devices, it will change you in certain ways. You'll start to use it a lot more. You have to think about using it though. I will say that.
Yeah.
You do have to think about using it.
Well, I've used broadcast for something like stop nagging me. Actually, as I think about it, as we're talking about multiple devices in the home, one of the things that I miss that was original to all of this when it first started was the ability to use okay and hey.
Oh yeah.
Because I would use one for my phone and I would use one for the devices.
Amen.
And this thing now where it's like everything goes off, and then it's like the one that is the closest to you and better able to carry out the command is the one. And I will tell you, as somebody who has a Mini in the living room, the home hub in the kitchen, I'm telling you, this home hub has like supersonic ears, because it grabs everything. It is everything goes through it. It's to the point where I basically have the mic off on the home Nest hub because it's so sensitive. I mean, it picks it up from, I can be in the den where I don't have something, but the living room is closer.
It still picks it up over the hub.
But the home Nest hub is the one that's doing the talking when I'm almost directly across from the Max in the living room. Yeah. So I basically just turned the speaker off, the microphone off on it, unless I'm in the kitchen. because otherwise it takes over, and I could be upstairs and it takes over. It's talking down here. I don't know how it does it, but it is probably the most sensitive of the devices that I've got in the house. And I hope they change that so that we can go back to distinguishing, with hey, whatever, or okay, or, maybe we'll get lucky and they'll let us do our own phrases. Who knows? But that would be sweet too, because I'd like to be able to distinguish and be able to be specific as to which one I'm talking to. Not all of you light up and then
totally agree. I send feedback on that all the time because you can't text messages. If I want a text message and I'm trying to do it from my phone, it picks it up on there and it won't allow me to do it. So then I have to squeeze my phone. I have a Pixel 3, so I can squeeze the phone and then just do it that way without saying anything. But I totally agree with you. I want to be able to whatever device and be able to go and do that.
Yeah.
I totally agree.
Yeah. And you get, the other part that adjustments that you make when you own these things, you get used to just saying the word. Now, it's like, we call it G now, so that if we're referencing it, we call it G so as not to trigger it, or we call the other one A so as not to trigger it. Because if you make the mistake, they all start talking and it's, I've had one say, I'm not that, I'm this, so.
Yeah. Modern Day Tech says over the weekend he used all 6 sound system for a party, kind of like Sonos, but a lot cheaper. Yeah, no, exactly. We use our Google Home in that same way. You can create groups.
Yep.
You can send the music out to that group and boom, it just starts playing in every device that you have in that particular group. It's awesome.
Yeah, I've got 3 groups: upstairs, downstairs, and whole house.
There you go.
So that's how I've set mine up, which makes it easier, because also, I've got one of the things that's in the group, and the important thing about groups is that it doesn't always have to be another home device.
Mm-hmm. That's right.
I have a Vizio soundbar that is Chromecast enabled, that is I'm able to add to the group that I have. So it too is part of my downstairs group. The hub, the Max, and that Vizio speaker are all part of my downstairs group, and the total home thing. So it's not just Google Home devices that can be added to your groups. If they're Chromecast enabled and they have the right version of Chromecast, whatever, they can be added to the group as a speaker as well.
Yeah, that's super fantastic. Just to be able to do that is just incredible. I like that a lot too. I noticed Modern Day Tech, he said out there, he says he calls her Lady A.
Yeah.
Which
right.
I'm sure.
Yeah. Because otherwise they'll start barking and they just won't stop. Speaking of barking and not stopping, Google has finally enabled us to get rid of the Chatty Cathy version of when you tell it to turn the lights off, and it stops telling you now, turning off light number 1, 2, and 3. It just gives you a nice little ding.
Yeah.
So that's a really nice feature, because when you go to bed and it's like, and you're telling it to turn off 10 lights and it's going through turning off light number 1, it becomes annoying by the time it's gotten them all done.
Is that a toggle, or is that just strictly it's that way now?
It's that way. There are 2 particulars. It's A, that way, and B, it is only for the light in the room that you're in.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
So it's not you're gonna still hear, which makes sense, because it's kind of a confirmation, because if you're not in the room with the light that you're trying to control, you don't know.
Yeah.
So it's the confirmation of, if I tell it to turn a light off upstairs,
yeah, exactly.
It's going to say turning to it. But if I tell it to turn a light off in the living room, it's just going to do ding. It's not going to say anything to me. So, it'll work perfectly for when you tell it to turn them off in your bedroom, or if it's, so that's pretty cool.
Mark says, I missed part of the broadcast. Did you guys discuss Google Calendar integration with Google Home, etc.? I know we kind of just touched on it, but not much. I know Google Calendar is specific to that voice thing and that one person, so it knows who, that kind of thing. But that's all we kind of went into. I'm not sure what you're talking about more. I mean, I don't know that. And you help me out. I mean, I don't know this. I know I'm just new into the Nest group with you guys and everything. Is G Suites integrated yet? I know that they were talking about it, but I don't know if it is or not.
I believe so. Not sure. I can check that. Yeah, no worries. But it was a long time thing, but I believe it was or has been because it was a long time request, but I don't know just what. There's so many aspects of G Suite.
Exactly.
So it's like I don't want to say it is when there's only a certain portion of it that might be integrated. So
makes sense. Yep. Mark says, thanks. You bet. Of course. Hey, we need to start cutting this short because I know your time is limited. I just want everybody to know, look, I appreciate everybody coming out today. It's so awesome for you guys to come in. You guys know that we have a paid for community for our members. After this, I'm going to invite those community members in. They're going to come in, be able to chat with Randall for just a little bit because I know he's limited in time. So I wanted to cut this a little bit shorter than normal, but actually this is not too bad. Thank you very much, everybody, for joining us and everything. Anybody that's out there, if you have any questions, you're watching this again later or something, please feel free. Ask as many questions as you want. I'll make sure they get back to Randall so he can answer and help us get better at this kind of stuff. And I'm sure I will have you on again. And I really do appreciate you taking time out.
No problem. No problem. Happy. We have fun every time we do it. So, I can't believe we find stuff to keep talking about. I mean, it's like every time we come on, we've got another little nitpick to go into. So it's kind of great.
But it helps too, people asking the questions and bringing stuff up too. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, sure.
Yep. Great
Thanks
stuff.
for having me.
Absolutely. And folks, listen, be sure if you want to join the community, there's a link in every description of any of these that we do. Be sure to, leave comments if you have a comment or you want to say something or you need to add something. Any of you guys that want to come in that are community members, please join us, come in and talk with us afterward. Be glad. Randall said he'd stick around for a little bit. He is a little bit of time limit. But please join us. We really do appreciate it. And thank you very much for watching this show.